US President Joe Biden has insisted he is the best candidate to take on Donald Trump in November's presidential election.
Mr. Biden's comments came after he referred to the Ukrainian leader, Volodymyr Zelensky, as President Putin in front of world leaders during an event to mark the end of the NATO summit in Washington.
And now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Well, let's speak now to US political analyst Eric Ham. Morning to you, Eric. A lot of people here in the UK just waking up and seeing that moment for the first time. Tell me your thoughts as we analyse that.
Well, I don't think there's anything to analyze. I think we just saw a slip of the tongue by the president, and we know that Joe Biden has been gaffe prone for 50 years now. And so he made a slip, he corrected it. I think we move on.
The reality is, as you'll well know, there was a press conference that followed, and I think it was approximately an hour where he was constantly questioned about those moments in front of world leaders and also his ability.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we saw the president speak very forcefully, speak very clearly, and also show the depth and the rigor of someone who has been engaged in and on these issues for so much of his career. And I think if for those who are concerned about the president's cognitive health and abilities, and they certainly have every right to be given his age, I think what we saw tonight was someone who is still very much up to the task of doing the job. Now, of course, one press conference is certainly not going to assuage many of the concerns and fears that many in the party have. And I think it's going to take much, much more work and much, much more time for President Biden to win back the confidence and the faith of many of those in the elite and donor class that are now calling for him to exit the race.
Yeah, Eric, the other mistake that has been focused on, and I appreciate your comments, which you're saying, you know, these are just moments. They're just like a slip of the tongue. The other moment that's been focused on is when Joe Biden referred to Vice President Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump. Another one that our audience this morning will be waking up hearing. What do you make of that? Can you write that one off in the same way?
Look, I think it's unfortunate, given that the president spoke for an hour after the conclusion of the 75th anniversary and gathering of NATO, one of the strongest military alliances the world has ever seen. And given that there was so much done, particularly in terms of NATO countries coming together to serve as a bulwark against Russia's aggression and invasion in Ukraine, the fact that we had the president of the United States, who has invested so much in helping Ukraine secure their freedom, the fact that we're looking at two slips of the tongue, I think, speaks to just how low we have come when we're looking at what is on the precipice, particularly when you see a man like Donald Trump, who has made clear he will be a dictator on day one.
Eric, I mean, that's a very good point you make, and I appreciate the sentiment there. There is a reality check here that you'll be well aware of, which is that whether or not it's fair, once the conversation after a NATO meeting at such a crucial time becomes dominated by one question as to the merits of the US president and his mental abilities, once you have crossed that point, you can't ignore it, and it gets in the way of the very thing that you're talking about.
That's certainly true. And the fact that this was seen as a make or break moment for the president of the United States shows you how far he fell in that debate, how much there was the deep-seated concerns about his fitness, about his age, and about his ability to do what is seen as the hardest job in the world. And it certainly is not going to go away with one presser, with one interview, particularly given this is a president who is prone to eschewing the stagecraft and the optics of the job. And many have questions about his ability to do said job. And now he has to try to work overtime, work even harder to actually show not only the American people, but the world, and of course, those donors who have invested so much into his campaign that he can, in fact, do this job. Many don't know if he can, and I think many will be watching to see if, in fact, he can actually get to November, given the crisis that is engulfing his candidacy right now.
Eric, just one other thought. I know in his press conference he was asked about Kamala Harris and, asking whether she was good enough to be president. That's the point he's got to in his own press conference. He's being asked about her merits to take over. What do you make of her ability in that situation?
Well, given the fact that right now, realistically, if Joe Biden was to step aside, it would have to be Kamala Harris, given where we are with campaign finance laws, given where we are with the balloting issues across the United States. It would appear as though she would be the person who would assume the mantle. And so many of those reporters I think are rightfully asking, what does he think about her? What does he think about her fitness? And what does he think about her ability to lead this country? And all of this, of course, comes as we are learning from sources that the Biden team is actually now doing some polling data to determine, in fact, where Kamala Harris stands in a potential run against Donald Trump.
Eric, thank you so much for your time. I know it's early hours of the morning for you. We appreciate you staying up for us. Thank you very much.